Hey guys, good morning all. Give me yes in the chat if you guys can hear me and all of you can see the sublime text. Quickly give me yes in the chat if everybody can hear me loud and clear and all of you can hear the sublime text. Okay. I got a bit delayed on today's session. I was waiting for a couple of folks to join and then they didn't join. I dropped off and then I rejoined it and it took a lot of time to do it. Anyways, we'll wrap it up and during the class. We'll take less breaks and we'll cover questions really quick to cover up that. Let's quickly revise what you've done till the last class and then we start with today's session. So last class was on 9th of February and where we discussed about, we're doing the questions related to arrays, right? We're doing about questions related to some of the advanced questions related to arrays as we discussed. Not advanced precisely, we looked at the medium level question. Today we're doing more of advanced level question. So what have we covered so far in our DSA syllabus? We covered the introduction, data types, operators, basics of DSA, loops, questions or loops and time complexity. Few pattern printing question. We have sort of talked about how to set up lead code submit a question. This is important. We talked about the introduction of arrays, finding few questions on arrays, like maximum element in an array or maximum element in a single pass to maximum element in a single pass. Then there's a follow-up question, which was asked in Goldman Sachs, which was the maximum element in a single pass and reverse an array of characters. So that's one thing. And there was one question called reverse vowels on lead code that also we have done. Okay. Now today we'll be continuing with our lead code set of questions. We solved in the last class the very first lead code question. We get familiarized with what exactly lead code as a platform is and how do we need to solve a question. We'll continue with that today. Okay. So that was question number 7, which is reverse an array of characters or integers. So you'll get a bonus point if you can do it in place solution. In place solution means space complexity is big of 1. That is what you mean by in place. So talking about number 1, one way is that I can use inbuilt function. So in C++, I can use the reverse code and I can reverse the array. In Python, I can use this to reverse the list. In Java, I can reverse array list, not an array. Time complexity will be big of n, space complexity will be big of 1. Then we talked about second approach, which is creating an extra array and then moving from right to left. So I can create an extra array, which is b of n, then I can move right to left, and then I can reverse the value. So time complexity big of n, space complexity big of n. Then we talk about 2 pointers and swap. So what we can do is we can use 2 pointers and we can swap the values. So I can keep start equal to 0 and equal to n minus 1, while start is less than equal to n, I can swap the values. Now swap as a function exists in C++ as an inbuilt function. In Java and other languages, it does not exist. So what you can do is you can write 3 lines of code which will cover the swap function. That's it. Or another way of doing that is instead of keeping 2 pointers, I can keep first pointer at the beginning, or I can just travel to the half. So if I travel to the half, n minus 1 minus I will be referring to the last value. I will be referring to the first value. So I can just travel the half. Time complexity is same in both cases, which is big of n by 2. Space is big of 1. Fourth solution we talked about, which is using stack. One moment, line 102 is not working for even number of arrays. What is 102? You can do less than n by 2 plus 1 that you can do for even or odd size. Yeah, less than equal to you can do n by 2 plus 1. This part. That will do the job. Okay. All right, we'll do for even array, odd array, whatever that values, it will reverse the values for that. Then we talked about using stack solution. Now stack is obviously not the most optimized solution, but definitely a solution which will work in all the reversal order. So any question that you find related to reverse, stack would definitely be one of the solution. What does stack do? Stack actually follows order called LAFO, last in first out. We'll discuss more once we go to the stack, but giving you a brief, it follows order last in first out. So whatever value you insert, you will get the output in a reverse order. Okay. Time big of n, space big of n. Then we spend time, Then we spend time on how to set up lead code and submit a question, important part. Less than is working fine. Equal to should also work fine. Equal to just puts you one extra iteration, nothing else. Okay. Try it one again. Equal to maybe you have not tested with. Okay, given the test case that you have tested with, I can go through it. Okay. One moment, guys. Let's go through what we discussed for how to set up lead code and submit a question. So in terms of submitting a question, I gave it about few resources related to DSA and system design, right? So coming to DSA, we talked about the important section, number 1 in the order. Talk about the discuss section, which contains the company information, compensation, and the question asked. Then there's top 150 questions for interview and top lead code interview questions. If you do not have the premium access, it's fine. If you don't have the premium access, there's an alternative website called Lint Code. You can create your account for free there. You can find all the questions which are asked, even the premium questions. And you can filter by the company as well. So that details which is hidden on Lint Code will be available on Lint Code. Then finally, one book to recommend for you, which is Cracking the Coding Interview, which is the latest edition book. You can read from it. I think 6th or 7th is the latest edition. I'm not 100% sure. I've read the 6th one, but I think there is a 7th edition in the market that you can look up to. Then in terms of strategy, how to apply the lead code, how to use the lead code most effectively. First, keep a list of top 150 questions. As a part of this course, we'll be covering around 300 questions or something, more or less, 340 or something, as that's the list, including both in class and assignment questions. So these top 150 is anyways covered in this, but my recommendation is that list of 150 questions is very important. So highlight it or bookmark it in your browser and keep checking. Whenever you're done with one particular section or one particular topic, start solving questions on that. Then top interview questions, blind 75, grand 75, which is again, many of these have overlapping questions. You don't have to go through 4 separate lists. And finally, once you have, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks pending before interview, that is when you'll sort by the latest, which has been asked in the company, and start solving that. Okay, like this. Then this is for the data structures algorithm. Coming to system design, which includes 2 parts, high level design, low level design, although it is not part of this course, but I'm just giving you the resources here. For high level design, you can go to Design Data Intensive Applications, a really good book by Aureli. Alex has a really good book called System Design Interview, Insider Guide Part 2. If you just have the part 2, you don't need a part 1, by the way, so it's not related. You can go ahead with the part 2. Then there are Groking interviews. Which one? Yes, these all are lead code series. These are lead code list. Then you have the Groking series, which is Groking the System Design Interview and Objective Design Interview on Educative. Again, you don't need to pay for it. What you can do is you can get the free PDFs online, or if you want to pay for it, you can pay for it, but you don't need to. Exponent is a very good platform to do the mock interviews, irrespective of it's a system design. Most of them conduct for system design interview, but I can see some people have also DSA mock interviews if you want to get. Then there is high scalability, which has been asked by tech lead or architects. That's something you can check. That's a website. And Don and Martin for GitHub, that is for beginners. If you are very beginner in system design, you want to start with, you can start with this as well. Then coming to low level design focus on different aspects of development, which includes following the best design principles, keeping best design practices like solid, do not repeat yourself, keep it simple and short, robustness, clean and modular, peer code reviews, and design patterns. Okay. This is an exhaustive list. What you need to focus upon is the DSA part. That's what I'm more interested in. But overall, I've shared you the list of system design as well. Then we continue to the question. We started with lead code 345. That is question number 8, reverse vowels of a string. That is the first lead code question technically we have submitted. The question was, you're given a string S, you need to reverse only all the vowels in the string and you need to return it. Okay. Only vowels in the sense. So example, if you talk about this string, HELLO, vowels are E and O. Now you need to only reverse the vowel and do not change the position of consonant, right? So E and O will become O and E. So final string will become HOLLE, right? Similarly, the position of the consonant will not change. If you talk about this gap, the solution will be LEOTCET. This is what you need to do. So only reverse the vowel, do not change the position of the consonant, plus the vowels can exist in both lowercase and uppercase. That is the condition you need to handle. The multiple ways this can be solved. One way is that I can create an extra array and then I can keep track of vowels and then I can replace. Time comes to big of n, space comes to big of v because of number of vowels. Second is an optimized solution where I can keep 2 pointers swap and I can do it in place solution. So I can check for vowels. Let's say it is AIOU or capital AIOU, and I can apply 2 pointers on top. So what I'm doing, I'm writing a utility function to check whether a character is a vowel or not. This is what I'm doing here. I converted this into an array just to apply my 2 pointers part to it. If it is not a vowel, I will not be replacing it. If the end is not a vowel, I will not be replacing it. If both the start and the end are actually at vowels, then what I'm going to do? I'm just going to swap it. So in C++, you can use the swap. In Java, and you can just write these 3 lines. We're coding this in Java, so that's why I written these 3 lines. I do start plus plus and I do end minus minus. And finally, I convert this character array back to my string because my function wants me to return a string. Time comps to big of n, space comp to big of n. That's what we discussed. And this is the C++ alternative for the same. Okay. Then we started with one question. I don't think we have covered it. We just talked about this. The next question we'll be covering, and that's where we'll start with question number 9, which is lead code 412, which is FizzBuzz. All right, guys. Any questions in the revision? Let me know. If everybody's clear, let's start with clear. One moment. Let me take your question. You mentioned that we can replace in string, but since string is immutable, so cannot replace in string directly. Either we need to convert to character array or string builder. Good question. See, when you do replace, okay, before that, any other question? If everybody is clear, you can type clear in the chat so I can know if everything is clear, or if anybody has any questions, let me know. Okay, that's a good question that you asked. Let me check if I have lead code open real quick. I can show you something. That's a topic I usually cover while I teach strings, but since you asked it, let's quickly talk about it. Okay, let's write a quick code real quick. What I'm gonna do is just quickly creating a, let's say, string A equal to ABCD. And I define string B equal to A dot, replace all, let's say, A with E. And then I want to print the value of B. Okay, what do you guys think would be the output? Quickly in the chat. Come on, guys, be quick. What do you think would be the output? Yeah, A dot replace all, same thing. Yeah, now. Come on, guys, be quick. You can use replace also, but I wanted to show you what's the concept on immutability. That's why I didn't put it. Anyways, run this code. Do I get the output? I get the EBCD. You can want to use the replace, you can use replace also. One moment, guys. If you want to use with replace, let's go with replace also. Both of them will give you the same output. Okay. What I wanted to teach you about here, the concept you're talking about immutability. See, it's a very good question, and that's what we discuss when we go to string. But since you asked this, let me cover this here. Strings are still immutable. That doesn't mean, so you can argue that A dot replace all I'm doing from A to E. If strings are immutable, how am I able to replace A to E? All agree? The question is technically correct. There's nothing wrong with this. Come on, guys, quick in the chat. The question is technically correct. If string is immutable, how am I able to replace A with E? The answer is string are immutable and based upon references, right? Now, what are references? Again, it's a string topic, but since you asked it, let me cover real quick here. When you create a streak, in terms of a string, there is a heap memory reference given to it. What do you mean by that? There is something called heap memory. Let's call it as a heap memory as of now. In that heap memory, let's say you create a string str. So that str has a reference here. Okay. And then there is a static memory, which is not heap memory. In that static heap memory, there is one reference which is created in the heap memory. Now, str, let's say, currently has the value A. So it has a reference to A. You can change this reference. You can put the value to B. You can put the value to C. You can put the value to D. Whatever time you want to change, you can change infinite number of times. But this reference, this hexadecimal reference that we are referring to, that is going to be constant always. That is when we say string is immutable. So string is immutable. It's a half definition. String is immutable in terms of the references in Java. Okay. Values, there is no immutability check. And string can never be immutable based upon values, based upon which how Java is designed. What do you mean by that cannot be referenced? Let me talk about this here. So if I say strings are immutable based upon values, then I can never do this. I would never be able to do this. But if I do this, will that give me any error? It will not give me any error because I can do this. So what do you mean by immutability? Immutability means you cannot change the value of the string? No, that's not the definition of immutability. The definition of immutability is the reference to which the string is pointed in my heap memory. That reference will never be changed until unless my program is completely executed. That is the correct definition of immutability. Okay. All right, guys. Now coming back to, I think there was one more question. Let me go back to this. Does that answer your question? Somebody asked me for the concept of immutability. All right. Let me cover one more question which was there. Less than equal to, greater than equal to. You can check the references. It's nothing of a big deal. Whatever that array size is, however you want to run the code, you can check it. Less than equal to, completely fine, not an issue with me. So integer, one moment. Let's put a value 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Define integer I equal to 0. For I equal to 0, I less than, let's put n here. I equal to 6. And I less than n by 2. I plus plus. What is that array? Of I is equal to array of n minus 1 minus I. And then what do you want to print? I just want to print this. So let's print this. I less than n, I plus plus, print value of array of I. Okay. So you're saying reference will always be same, value may change. Correct. The heap reference will always remain same. And equal to 6. This is side 6, and by 2, let's run the code. Legal start of expression, not expression 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Not a big deal. I'll clear it. Run it. 5, 5, 4, 5, 4, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. N is given as 6. I don't need this N anymore. I can take this and array dot length. That will do. Okay. N minus 1 minus I. Yeah, that's fine. What I want to test is the one. I equal to 0, I less than n by 2. Array of I is equal to n minus 1 minus I. 6, 5, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I do it n by 2, let's see. 6, 5, 4, 4, 5, 6. Where it is taking double 4 here. And less than n by 2 plus 1. Okay, let's see what's going on here. So you got the 6 values. You start with, let's keep it for n by 2. I don't want to take this. So it will start with 0, 1, and 2. So what it is doing at 0. So it's take n minus 1 minus I. So you take the value 1 and 6. 1 and 6 are replaced. Let's see the output again. It's writing the 6 again one more time. Okay. Then what? I equal to 0, I less than n into my carry of 5. Okay, looks good. So it goes for I equal to 0. We replace array of 0 with what? Array of 0 got replaced with, no, one moment. Array of I is array of n minus 1 minus I. I'm not doing swap. What I'm doing is I'm just quickly going through the values of n minus 1 minus I. I'm referring to the code that I have referred here that somebody was asking question for. Let's put it back. Code for swap. Let's put it swap. That's the thing coding with Java. Public static swap. Yeah, either way, you can use it inside for loop, you can use it there, no worries. Clear it, run the code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to pass by reference here, which I don't want to. Anyways, let me check that real quick in C++. Or even this is fine too. Okay, I can do integer temp. Temp equal to A equal to B, and B equal to temp. All right, let's run it. Cool, now it's able to replace. And if I do n less than equal to, let's do this. Still working for less than equal to. Okay, 6534, it's replacing one more time, which is less than equal to. Okay, I'll still keep it less than 43 is fine. If I make it 7, let's check for that. If I make it 7, replacing fine. If I do less than equal to 1 for 7. Okay, so for less than equal to, it's working for both odd, but for even, it is not working for less than equal to. Okay, you can keep it in less than. That's fine. Time constant still remain the same. Okay. All right, now coming back to this, back here, this is what we need to replace. You can just take for less than. Okay, same thing. If you want to keep, you don't have to do it for end also. You can do start less than end. Both things will work. Okay. All right, guys. Now coming back to the FizzBuzz question, that's where we started. Any questions before we start with FizzBuzz? Any question? Okay, cool. This question is very important. Question number 9, read code 412. Not important from the sense it's a complex or something. Important from the sense this question is something which I can ask to anybody with any experience. I can ask this question to intern also. I can ask it to ST1, ST2, ST3. And depending upon the kind of variations I can make, I can just get to know whatever I'm looking for a different level of experiences. So what's so special about this question, which can be asked across different age experiences or different experience of people? Let's talk about that. Let me bring that question first. Type on lead code. We are here. We are here. All right. Here we are. Cool, guys. Let's have a look at the question. What is this question important about? I'll give you time, guys, to write the code. So those who have written it, well and good. Those who have written it, I'll give you a follow-up question. You can try with that. And those who have not done it, I'll give you enough time to write the code. This is lead code 412, named as FizzBuzz. If you look at the stats from here, it's 1.9 million submission with 73.8% acceptance rate, asked in so many good companies. Obviously, variations of it. What is that question about? The question is, you're given an integer n, returning a string array answer, which is one indexed. So returning a string array answer one indexed where answer of I is equal to FizzBuzz if I is divisible by 3 and 5. Answer of I is equal to Fizz if I is divisible by 3. Answer of I is equal to Buzz if I is divisible by 5. And answer of I is equal to I as a string if none of the above conditions are true. Basically, we are given 4 conditions. That's all. So I've given some example n equal to 3. We have to go through all values from 1 to 3. So 1, 2, and Fizz. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, Fizz, 4, Buzz, and then goes for 15 as well. The length we are given is 10 is the power 4, which is 10,000. Okay. So let's take this problem statement first and including the constraints. With this, we'll go back to Sublime. Here we are. Okay. All right. We got different examples here. Let's talk about it now. And what's the kind of solution that we have to give? Let me write that as well. The function that you have to give is a list of string, which is taking n as an input. Okay. All right, guys. More or less, we are given just 4 conditions. What are the 4 conditions? If it is divisible by 3, you just print the value Fizz. If it is divisible by 5, you print the value Buzz. If it is 3 and 5, you print the value FizzBuzz. And if it is none, then you just print it as it is. This is what the problem statement which is given. Okay, 4 conditions more or less. Now to understand this, let's take an example. If I put n equal to 5, for 1, what will be the output? 1 will not qualify here, 1 will not qualify here, 1 will not qualify here. So output of 1 will become what? String as 1. 2, same case, string as 2. 3, the output will be Fizz. 4, same case, 4. And 5, the output will be Buzz. All agree with this? Yes or no? I did not understand problem, what we are trying to do. That's what I'm explaining, guys. Let's focus on understanding of the problem, then we'll talk about solution. Okay, let me explain the problem statement again. Problem statement is, or if ignore doing this, problem statement is you're given a number n. From the number n, you have to go through all the values from 1 to n. So let's say I put n equal to 5, so you have to go from 1 to 5. When you go through it, if 4 characters or 4 possibilities can be there. If the number is divisible by 3, you print the output Fizz. If the number is divisible by 5, you print the output Buzz. If it is divisible by both 3 and 5, you print the output Fizz Buzz. And if none of these 3 conditions happen, then you print the value as it is in string format. This part clear so far? A number is given, you have to go from 1 to n. Out of these 4 possibilities, whatever possibility exists, you need to give the answer. This statement clear to all? Okay. Now let's take an example to understand that. If I put n equal to 5, is 1 a multiple of 3? No. Is 1 a multiple of 5? No. Is 1 a multiple of 3 and 5? No. So the condition which will satisfy will be the none condition. So output will become what? output will become stringified 1. Okay. Same goes for 2, not divisible by, not multiple by 3, not multiple of 5, not multiple of both 3 and 5. So output will become 2 as a string. 3 is a multiple of 3. So output will become fizz. 4 again, not a multiple of 3 or 5 or 3 and a 5. So output will remain a stringified form. And if I talk about 5, 5 is a multiple of 5. That's why the output will be buzz here. Okay. So final output is what? Final output will be a string format, which will be 1, 2, fizz, 4, and bus. This will be the final output. This part crystal clear to all. This part crystal clear to all. This is what the problem statement is. Okay. Now, from this problem statement, the output is going to be a list of string. This is something very important. The function that you are going to write code on, this will take n as an input, which is integer, but will return a list of string as the output. Okay. So final output would look a list of string. This is what the question is. Any doubt in the problem statement? Any doubt in what we are trying to solve here? If input is 7, then if input is 7, you will add 2 more characters, which is 6 and 7. For 6, the output will become fizz. For 7, the output will remain 7 as a string. That's it. All right, guys. Any question, anything which is not clear as part of this question? The question is crystal clear to all. Let me know. If the question is crystal clear to all, now let's talk about what needs to be done here. Number one moment, guys. You need to complete this function, which returns a list of string. Two things needs to be done here. For the people who have not solved this question, try to come up with an optimal solution. How would you solve this question? Okay, those who have not solved it, come up with any optimal solution which you think will pass all the test cases. Okay, this is slightly a tricky question. It's not complicated, it's slightly a tricky question. So try to think about what could be tricky here. Think about multiple edge cases, what could be those edge cases, and then come up with solution. Now, for those people who have already solved this question, I want you to solve in at least 2 different ways, or 2 to 3 different ways. One solution you have given, I want you to think in at least 2 to 3 different ways. Okay, so that way you all will be engaged. Requirements are clear. Number one, you're given a problem statement, solve it, whatever optimal solution that you can think of. If you have already solved it in one approach, this question can have more than 2 to 3 answers. So try to think in a second way or a third way. Okay. All right, guys. As I said, this is the kind of question I can ask anybody with any years of experience, depending upon how I'm asking the question. So whatever solution you have done, I'm pretty sure there is a way it can be optimized. So think about it. In the meantime, if the problem statement is clear, this is your link of lead code problem. And okay, HTTPS is not there. This is your lead code problem. And this is the function that you have to complete. Lead code 412, guys. You guys know what to do. Go directly ahead on the lead code, start submitting your solution. Once you guys are done, share your submission link with me. Please do not message to everyone. Change your message directly to me. You can submit the code, submission link. You can give the code as well, along with time and space complexity. Again, I'm repeating, please don't change your message Please don't change your message to everyone. Change your message directly to me. Okay. Your time starts now. Once you guys are done, you can let me know. Then we can have a discussion. Okay. Just let me know once you guys are done, guys. Then we'll go for discussion. Your time starts now. All right, guys, enough time. Do you need more time to solve it? Let me know. Else we can go for discussion. Do you guys need more time to solve this? Else we are good to discuss. Let me know. All right. I think we are good to discuss. Let's start with the discussion real quick. Okay. I've seen majority of your code, but I have not seen the code which I asked for the people who have already solved it, finding me more than multiple ways, more than one way or multiple ways to solve this question. So as of now, I've not seen that answer. If anybody is still working, let me know in meantime. Anyways, let's start this question from a fresh start and try to understand what this question is asking, right? And see what is tricky part about this question. See, on a higher level, the question looks very straightforward, and it is actually very straightforward apart from one tricky part. If you don't care, then that would lead to problems. Basically, 4 conditions are given to you. 3, print fizz, multiple of 5, print buzz, multiple of 3 and 5, fizz buzz. None of them put as it is in the string format. That's exactly the 4 conditions we are given. That's exactly what the question is. So if we just go blindly about these 4 conditions, the code should look like something like this. If happens, do something. Else if happens, do something. Else if happens, do something. And finally the else part. There should be these 4 conditions taking care of things. All agree with this? All agree with this? Yes or no? Simple, straightforward code, correct? However, the structure of the code will remain same. You can definitely write your solution which will pass all test cases or any of the test cases based upon this structure. What makes this tricky is what are the conditions you're putting in this if and else if. Before we go there, one thing we should be very clear about conditional statement is this part. Conditional statement will only execute sequentially. What do you mean by sequentially? First condition will be checked whether it satisfies or not. If it does not satisfy, only then it will go to the second condition. All agree? These conditions always follow in a sequential way. So if the first condition is not satisfied, that is when it will go to the second condition. If second condition is also not satisfied, then it will go to the third condition. If third condition is also not satisfied, then it will go to the last condition or the fourth condition. That is how sequentially they work. So let me clear this. Let me come back here and let's talk about it now. So if I just blindly follow these 4 conditions, I copy it and I paste it here. I'll put I modulus 3 equal to 0. Then I will print the value fizz. I modulus 5 equal to 0. I print the value buzz. If I put I modulus 3 and I modulus 5, put the condition equal to 0. I'm not putting it here. Let's put it here. And I do fizz buzz. One moment, guys. We'll talk about all the solutions. And finally, I'll print the value of I, toString or whatever format we want to use. Okay. Based upon these conditions, this should work, right? Considering these 4 conditions, if, else, if, and all, they should work. And that is exactly what makes it a tricky part. What is the tricky part here? We followed the 4 condition, we write the if else condition. From the if else condition, we should get the output. The tricky condition is here. If I say about 15, my expected output is fizz buzz. If I say 15, my expected output is fizz buzz. What is the current output that I will get from this? What is the current output I'll get from this? The current output I'll get is fizz here. So what is something which is wrong here? Try to understand what is something which is wrong here. When you put I equal to 15, will it satisfy this condition? Yes, it will satisfy this condition. It will print the value fizz. However, if it satisfied this condition, will it ever be able to reach at line 126? No. That is what I meant by the sequential access. So if something before the sequential access in the terms of conditional statement, if something before is already satisfied, it will never come back to this statement. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about solutions. Let's understand the problem first. The problem here is the way these conditions are structured, it should be structured in a way that the condition that we want on the top should be handled first and then go to the next values. The reason being the if else condition or the conditional statement, they follow a sequential manner. So if this condition on the top is satisfied, the condition at the bottom will not be executed. This statement clear to all? If the condition at the top is satisfied, it will never reach at the condition at the bottom. So what do we need to do? We need to find out a right way to put these values. That doesn't mean that our if else approach is wrong. Our if else approach is still correct. What to put in the if else approach, that is something we need to discuss. And then we'll talk about the second part of it. So first part, whenever you get such kind of question, always grow from largest to smallest. And this will always pass all your test cases. Okay. Whenever you encounter such kind of problem statement, always go from largest to smallest. That will always pass all your test cases. Okay. What do you mean by largest to smallest? Same conditions, I'll take it up, copy this, paste it here. I will take this condition. This is my largest. I'll print it as FizzBuzz. 5 will remain same, and then 3 part will come. Now this will pass all your test cases. This statement clear to all? This statement clear to all? Okay. This is the way that it will always pass your test cases, no matter what the variation is. This is for 3, 5, 15. Even if it comes for 2, 4, 8 or any of the variation, it will always pass all test cases. The thumb rule is always go from largest to smallest. The reason is if you go from largest to smallest, that will never be a scenario that a condition should be executed here. Instead, it has been executed here. For example, for 15. For 15, it will be taken care here only. You don't need to go back to 5 or 3 because that's the condition handling for 15. Solution clear to all. Always go from largest to smallest. It will always pass all test cases. Come on, guys, quick in the chat. Okay. Now, two more things to discuss on that. Number one, if I copy this and I change the order of these conditions, let's say I put 3 and 5 instead of 5 and 3. Do you think now it will pass all test cases? You can try submitting it. Just modify this, put this if condition here, put this if condition here, try submitting it. The answer is it will still pass all test cases. Now, understand the reasoning behind it. Don't just blindly trust it that will pass all test cases. You can submit and verify it, but try to understand the reason behind it. The reason is this is the correct approach. You should always go from largest to smallest. You will always pass all the test cases. I told you the reasoning as well. But here, these numbers are something special. What makes them special? What is the highest common factor of 3 and 5? What is the highest common factor of 3 and 5? Quickly in the chat. Highest common factor or greatest common divisor, GCD, whatever you want to call it. It is 1. What are those numbers called which has highest common factor of 1? Come on, guys. This is a class 6 question. Don't mess this up. My question was, what are those numbers called which has a highest common factor of 1? Two numbers cannot be called prime numbers. Prime number can be one number, right? Definition of prime number is the number which is divisible by only 1 and the number itself. My question is, what are those two numbers called which has highest common factor as 1? Come on, guys, quick in the chat. Correct answer is coprime. Since 3 and 5 are coprimes, this is the reason, and this is the only reason. Coprimes. This is the only reason we can replace else if condition. This is the one and only reason behind it. Okay. 3 and 5 both are coprime numbers. Since they're coprime number, even if I put 1535 or 1553, 1553, which is always correct, or if I put 1535, they both will pass all test cases. Both of them. Okay. Everybody crystal clear with this. Understand the reasoning behind it. Don't memorize the solution or don't try to write the solution. Understand the reasoning behind this. If they were not coprimes, I would not be able to do it. What do I mean by that? Example, if it was 2, 4, and 8, then 8, 4, 2, that will give you correct solution. But if you try to do 8 to 4, that will give you incorrect solution. Because why? 2 and 4 are not coprime numbers. This is all mathematics, nothing to do with programming. Okay. What is definition of co-prime? The highest common factor is 1. So if I put 5 here or 3 here, doesn't matter, because the only multiple of 3 and 5, I have already taken care of condition. Apart from that, there will be no number which is multiple of 3 as well as 5. All those numbers will be taken care here. After that, I don't need to take care of anything. Okay. But if I talk about 8, 4, and 2, multiples of both 4 and 2, for example, 4 might not be the multiple of 8. Okay. So let me provide a detailed reasoning here. Although I think you should have got it, but let me write it here. Multiples of both 3 and 5 are handled in condition 1. There is no other number which will be multiple of both 3 and 5 which is not handled in condition 1. Example, you can take 15, you can take 30, you can take 45, you can take 60, etc. All of them will be taken care. But if I put 2, 4, and 8, right? If I try to put something like this with 2, 4, and 8, I put 2 here, 2 and 4 here, and let's say I put 4 here. Now, the reason here is there are values which are divisible by both 2 and 4 and not covered in condition 1. Example, if I put 8, 8 is divisible by both 2 and 4. 4 is divisible by both 2 and 4 again. Same will go for 16, same will go for 24, etc., etc. Okay. So not all the values will be taken care by this condition. This part clear? So just to be on the safe side, always go from largest to smallest and you'll always be good. That was first part. This first part clear to all? Come on guys, quick in the chat. First part clear to all? Okay. Now there's a second part, which is not that critical, but let's discuss that also. Can I write this I modulus 3 equal to 0 and I modulus 5 equal to 0 as I modulus 15 equal to 0? Yes or no? I'm coming to that only. Okay. Can I write I modulus 2 equal to 0 and I modulus 4 equal to 0 as I modulus 8 equal to 0? Can I write it like this? Think about it, guys. Okay. The answer is, in the first case, yes, I can. If I have to write 3 and 5, I can write it modulus 15. Why I can do that? Let me talk about this here. Case number 1 or condition number 1. And then I can talk about case number 2 or condition number 2. I modulus 3 equal to 0 and I modulus 5 equal to 0. This is same as I modulus 15 equal to 0. Why? Because 3 and 5 are co-primes. That is why you can write it like this. But if you try to do, let's say something like this, I modulus 2 equal to 0 and 4 equal to 0 becomes 8 equal to 0. This is incorrect. Why? Because 2 and 4 are not co-primes. So if we take an example of, let's say, 12. 12 is divisible by 2. Answer is yes. 12 is divisible by 4. Answer is yes. Is 12 divisible by 8? The answer is no, it is not. Okay. So you cannot replace 2 and 4 with 8, right? But you can replace 3 and 5 with 15. The reason being they are co-prime numbers. This part crystal clear to all. There are a couple of things to discuss here before I go to the next part, or before I go to the reason that I said it's an important question. There are a couple of things to discuss here. Number one is first, the understanding why the order is important. If the order is given incorrect, one moment, guys. If the order is given incorrect, I will not get the correct solution. So first thing, I need to go from largest to smallest. That is always the correct order. So even if you don't want to understand the or don't want to go deeper into the concept of co-prime, you can just put largest to smallest. It will always pass all your test cases. This part clear to all? Largest to smallest is always the right way. It will always pass your test cases, right? And then we discussed two things. First things, if I replace 1553 with 1535, will it still pass all my test cases? The answer is yes, it will still pass your test cases. The reason is not that the approach of largest to smallest is wrong. No. The only reason is the numbers that you have chosen, these are special numbers. What is special about them? 3 and 5, both of them are co-prime, right? So if you put co-prime numbers, if you have already taken care of the condition 3 and 5, after that, there is no number which is divisible by 3 and also divisible by 5. There is no possibility of that. So if you replace 5 and 3, doesn't matter. Okay. You replace 3, 5, replace 5, 3, doesn't matter. Okay. Same reason here. If you put like 2 and 4 here and 4 and 2, that will matter. So in this case, your 8 to 4, 8, 4, 2 is correct, but your 8 to 4 is not a correct solution. Okay. You cannot do it because they are not coprimes. That was case 1. Case number 2, some people write modulus 3 equal to 0 and modulus 5 equal to 0 as 15, 0. This is also correct only because they are coprime numbers. What is that denoting is any number which is divisible by 3 and 5 has to be divisible by 15, which is correct. Because they are coprime numbers, it is not possible. Any number which is divisible by both 3 and 15 will not be divisible by 15. But in the case of 2, 4 and 8, that is not the case. There can be a number which is divisible by both 2 and 4, example 12, but it is not divisible by 8. Okay, so here you cannot put this condition. So long story short, always whenever you want to go with, you can go from largest to smallest. It will always pass all test cases. Understand how conditional statement work. They work sequentially. Means you have to go through in the sequence. So largest to smallest will always pass all the test cases. Coprime is something extra that I have told related to this specific question. Everybody crystal clear with this now. Okay, that was our solution number 1. Let's talk about solution number 2. One moment. Is there any advantage using I modulus 15? No, it is not. It is not. See, even if you do I modulus 3 and I modulus 5, there is no difference. Both of them are big of one code. However, in extreme large numbers, the kind of input test case you're dealing for, it will not make any difference, not even in the microseconds. However, when you deal with billions of data sets, right? Billions of data sets and working with extremely large test cases, then it will make a difference. Then in that case, I modulus 15 will be faster. Okay. But the difference would be so small, you will not even notice it. Okay. All right, guys. Solution 1 clear to all. Understanding the if else condition. Cool. Now let's talk about solution number 2. Can you think of any other way to solve this? This one way we talked about if else condition, we talked about 4 conditions. Is it possible to solve it without that? Or is it possible to solve it any condition apart from that? Quickly in the chat, guys. 2 pointers. Okay. How will you solve by 2 pointers? So just one thing. Solution 1, if I have to summarize, either if you write it using if else, or you writing using ternary operators, or you write it using switch case. Technically, they all are same solution. So I will not count them as different solution. I'm not counting them as different solution. You're just putting the conditions. That's it, right? So this is solution 1. My question is about, can you do it without if else, ternary, or switch case? Can you do that? Yes or no? If you can, what would be the solution? So this is something that I can ask to SD1 or maybe SD2 too as well. Something this kind of a question, right? Um, yeah, I can ask this to ST1. This question I can definitely ask to interns also, and they should be able to know about this solution. It's a pretty popular solution. Now the question becomes, is there any other way that I can do it without if else turn your switch condition? The answer is yes, it can be done. Now, what is the way to do it? Before we talk about the reason or before we talk about the solution, let's understand the intuition behind it. I equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. If I put array of I equal to 5, what will be the output of the array or the value, whatever we have in the array? Come on, guys, quick in the chat. What will be the output? All values will become 5, correct? If I take this, I'll put the value 10. Now, what would be the output? All elements will become 10. What is that we are trying to see? Whenever you turn a loop, whatever the last change that you have done, that would be the latest changes or the final changes, because you are just overwriting the values. Yes or no? Think about it, guys, and then let me know. Whatever the values that you are taking, that is taking always the last change. Why it is taking the last change? Because you are overwriting the values. This is my intuition. Last changes would be my final slash latest answer. That gives me an idea. If I reverse the if else approach, that reverse of the if else approach will work in the loop. Then I can go in increasing approach. If I reverse the if else approach, then I can go in the increasing approach. Let's talk about it. What was that increasing approach? This part of 3 and 5, that was giving me incorrect answers. Let's talk about this part. This was giving me incorrect answers. If I have to fix it, how I can fix? I can still do the same thing. It's just that the value which is changed here should be overwritten here. That's all I can do, correct? That was not possible when I was doing the if-else conditions because those are sequential check. So these are not coming. So something which has come here is not coming back here. If I rewrite it over a for loop, that can be easily done. Think about it. If I write it like this, I equal to 1, I less than equal to n, I plus plus, and let's say I can say result of I is equal to, let's say first convert everything to string. Then what? Take this guy, paste, paste, paste. Start with 3, start with 5, start with 15. I plus equal to 3, I plus equal to 5, I plus equal to 15. Okay. For 3, I would just convert it to fizz. For 5, I'll just convert it to buzz. And for 15, I'll just convert it to fizz buzz. All agree with this? Yes or no? Come on, guys, quick in the chat. That will still work. What will be the time and space complexity? Let's talk about that as well. If you look at the time complexity, this code is running how many times? Big of n times. This code is running how many times? Quick in the chat, guys. Okay, so we've done time complexity. Be quick in the chat. Correct. It's big of n by 3 times. What about this guy? Quick in the chat. Big of n by 5. What about last guy? Big of n by 15. Okay. So if you take complexity, it will be big of n plus big of n by 3 plus big of n by 5 plus big of n by 15, summarizing up to big of n again. Okay. Space compty, I'm not using any extra space, so space will be big of 1. These are the two ways, or I technically, if you count these as 3 solutions, so 4 ways, but I'm counting all of this as one solution. If else ternary switch case, you're doing the same thing. Approach wise, there are 2 ways. One way is that either use if else ternary switch case, doesn't matter. And second is using loops. With these 2 solutions, you can find your solution for this problem statement. Everybody crystal clear? Everybody crystal clear? Okay. Now, let me first go to lead code. Let's try about solving this. Let's verify this solution as well. So this guy, one moment, guys, one moment. I'm coming to that. So this guy, if you look at it, first I'm checking the condition, I'm checking fizz bus, then I'm checking for 15, then I'm checking for 5, 3, and so on and so forth. I can do the same for 15, 3, 5 also, that will also work. But this is the appropriate solution to code. Everybody clear with this? Same condition, first I'm checking for 15, then I'm checking for 5, then I'm checking for 3, passing all the test cases. Other than co-prime 2, solution will work, yes. Doesn't matter co-prime or not. Co-prime was just for ranging 3, 5 to 15. So for that part, for loop doesn't matter co-prime or not. Okay, it will still override the values. Now, in this part, a good question somebody asked is why the space complexity is still big of 1? Time complexity is big of n. You can see the outer loop is running only a number of times, so time complexity is big of n. Somebody asked a question, why the space complexity is big of 1? Look at this code, guys. Why the space complexity is big of 1? I'm technically creating a list of string. I answered this question in the last class, by the way, if you guys remember. Anybody? Correct. See, understand one thing about space complexity. Whenever we talk about space complexity of a function, we're talking about extra space. Extra space complexity, we always say, right? What do you mean by extra case? This function wants me to return a list of string. Agree? If you look at the syntax of the function, this wants me to return a list of string. Means I need to create a list of string to return it, right? If I'm creating that list of string, that is not contributing to extra space because I have to create it because my function wants it. If I'm creating anything extra apart from it, any other string, any other list, any other array, any other hash map, anything queue, linked list, anything like that, that would be counted as extra space. If the function signature says, I want you to return a list of string, it is not counted in the list of string. The space compty will be qualified as big of 1 here. However, if the function was void, and in that void function, now you're trying to create this, that would be a problem. Then you can say the space compty is big of n. This part clear to all? Okay. Let's compile the code. Working fine. Let's submit the same. Pass all test cases. Beats almost 100% of the submission if you look at the time complexity, big of n. If we talk about the space complexity, big of 1. Okay. That's all we discussed already. I'll take this piece of code. I'll go back to Sublime. We'll paste it there. All right, guys. Everybody clear with this part? Okay. Now remember what I told you in the beginning of the question. I told you this is the kind of question I can ask to anyone based upon years of experience. So if I have to ask the same question to somebody else with different years of experience, what would I change? So for intern, I expect like first solution for let's say as D1 or 2, one maybe I can expect first and second solution. For senior engineers, I would be making some changes in the question. What would I make change in the question? I would be expecting something like multiple conditions and dynamic conditions. So one variation would be, let's say if I modulus 2, or I can just write it here. For 2, let's say fizz, we can start with 3. 3 it was fizz, 5 it was buzz, 15 it was Fizzbuzz. And let's say 4 it is something else. 8 it is something else. And so on and so forth. That's it. Okay. And then I can include dynamic conditions. Means defined at runtime. What do you mean by defined at runtime? You will not know what condition needs to be done. That condition will be given at the runtime. So you'll be given, let's say, void runtime implementation, something like that. So you'll be given an integer n, you'll be given a string value and something like this. Means if n is multiple of k, then replace with value. Such kind of thing can be given. The changes will be done at the runtime. So two conditions can be made. It can be made in two levels of complexity. One is that I can include more conditions. Now you'll have multiple scenarios to take care of. Apart from that, if I have to make this question really complex, what I'll do is I'll include the dynamic conditions. So you'll not be given the static conditions like this, like you already know what would be printed. You'll be given a dynamic condition like this. You can implement in the way whatever you want to do. A number would be given, a k would be given, which is a constant. If it is a multiple of k, you can string the value, and this value will change with every function. Okay, such kind of questions can be asked for senior engineers. Now, what is the expectation here? If I have to talk about extension, this question can be solved in multiple ways. The extension is you're using the proper design patterns. I will not tell which one. You can use the proper design patterns for this. Condition used at runtime. How are you implementing it? If you're using a bean, if you're using Java, how are you implementing the bean class? And if you're implementing the lambdas. Okay. Lambdas are just a short way to write big code. Okay. In Java, it was implemented by 8 streams in Java version. But in C++, we have lambdas, Python, we have lambdas, so on and so forth. JavaScript also, we have lambdas. But anyways, that's something I can ask for extension if I have to ask it. Coming back to our question, this was the important question that we have gone through. What is this problem statement talked about? Two major things that we have talked about out of this. Number one, there are multiple conditions that we have to check through, 3, 5, and 15. We have to take care of the co-prime numbers, what is happening exactly in the case of co-prime numbers. Okay. First thing first, why this approach was wrong, we discussed that in detail. Then we talked about the always correct solution. Then we talked about why 15.3.5 works in this specific case. We talked about why 15 and 3 and 5 both are correct. 3 modulus and modulus 5 is correct, and for modulus 15 is also correct. We verified the case for 8, 4, and 2, and 8, 2, and 4, and so on and so forth. Then we talked about solution number 2, which was based upon the loop implementation. You can reverse the if-else approach, then you can do it by overwriting the values. Okay. All right, guys. We talked about both the code. We talked about time and space complexity, etc., etc. Extension means extension of the question. Extension means different variation of the question. That's it. Okay. For C sharp, what for C sharp? Lambdas. I'm pretty sure there should be lambdas in C sharp. This code is just a if-else condition. You can write in any language. Using if-else solution approach, space comp is also a big of one. Yes, yes. Space comp is always big of one. Even the code that I've written and submitted, that is the code that I've written. This is the if-else code. Space comp is big of one. Okay. All right, guys. This problem statement clear to all? Quickly give me clear in the chat. All good? Okay. All right. If everything is good, now let's move on to the next topic real quick. One moment. Lead code shows big of n space comp using if-else. No, it does not. You'll have to go through your code to be honest. But this is the code that I have just submitted. This is the code condition using if-else. You can see this is if-else conditions. And this is the code I just submitted like 2 minutes ago or something. So submitted at, I don't know what's the time anyways. 23 something. We just submitted like 2 minutes ago. Yeah, submitted 7 minutes ago. And if you look at the space complexity, it's big of 1. That's the JavaScript. So what you're creating is creating an extra list. That's it. So if you go to the Java function, sorry, JavaScript function, let's take JavaScript, guys. So this is given as a function and that's why it is. It's not expecting the answer to be in Java. It's not expecting the answer to be given as a list of strings. Okay. So if you're creating list of string that is not already created, but in Java, once you already create it, that is when it is counted the space of big of one. Your solution is correct. Your approach is correct too. This is nothing wrong with your approach or solution. The correct space comp is big of one. Okay. If the function expect to return an array of string, you return that array that is space comp big of one. Okay. All right, guys. Let's quickly move on to the next concept. We'll talk about a couple of theory here, and then we'll move to questions. The next concept is called matrix/2D arrays. What is that matrix/2D arrays? Let's talk about it. So here, first of all, D refers to the dimensions. Okay. When you talk about 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, those are referring to dimensions. Okay. If I talk about 1D array, what does that mean? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 1D array means there's only going to be one dimension. For example, if you talk about line, that's a 1D array. It's either x-axis or y-axis, horizontal or vertical. If you talk about rectangle, that's a 2D array, which is both x and y-axis. And if you talk about cube, that's a 3-dimension, which is x, y, and z-axis. All right. So what does this dimension has to do for us? When we talk about 1D array, we are talking about only one dimension. 2D array, we are talking about 2 dimensions, and 3D array, we are talking about 3 dimensions here. What does matrix comes into picture? Matrix are our 2D arrays. So if we talk about 2D array, that is rows plus columns combination. So like this, and like this. What does that mean? A 2D array is just a combination of multiple 1D array. So if I take this 1D array, if I take multiple 1D array together, and that is what I'll call it as a 2-dimensional array. Generally speaking, any n-dimensional array is a combination of n minus 1-dimensional array. So if you look at 3D array, it's just a combination of multiple 2D array. If you take like 10D array, it's a combination of multiple 9D arrays, right? So if I talk about matrix like this, let's say a simple example could be here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. That is also a 2D array. This is 1D array, this is 1D array. You combine multiple 1D arrays together, that will become a 2D array. Okay. Now, take an example, another example using matrix. If I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So, my matrix, if I give you that I'm in the first row, can you tell me my exact position? If in my matrix, I tell you I'm in the first row, can you give my exact position? The correct answer is you cannot give my exact position. Why? When I say first row, I can be anywhere. I can be at 1, I can be at 2, I can be at 3. You don't know my exact position yet. Similarly, if I tell you I'm at first column, can you tell me my exact position? Still you cannot. I can be at 1, I can be at 4, I can be at 7. You cannot tell me exact position. But if I tell you exact row and column, for example, if I say I'm at 2, 1, now can you tell me where am I? What is 2, 1? Where am I exactly? Which value am I? Guys, indexing start from 0. Indexing start from 0, 2, 1. Correct. I'm at the value 8. Row number 2, this is the row number 2, column number 1, this is the column number 1. Indexing start from 0. So 0, 1, 2, and 0, 1. Now you can figure out my exact position here. This is why it is called two-dimensional array. Means I need both row and column to figure out where exactly I am. Same goes for three dimension. I would need both row, column, and height to figure out where exactly I am. The statement clear to all? Someone guys be quick in the chat. The statement clear to all? Okay. So what did we talk about so far before I move to the code part? We talk about metrics or 2D arrays in general. First of all, I clarified what does D means here. D means the dimensions. So when we talk about 1D array, we are talking about just one axis, either x-axis or y-axis. Whenever we talk about rectangle, we are referring to a 2D array. Just an example of rectangle. Means there are both x and y axis. When we talk about three dimension, example can be considered as cube, that is x, y, and z axis. What exactly is 2D array or matrices here? That's what we're trying to understand. Matrices involves both row and column combination. Means I can combine multiple 1D arrays together that I'll count it as a 2D array. So 2D array is nothing, it's a combination of multiple 1D arrays. So if you look at this, I combine multiple 1D array, that will become a 2D array. If I look at my matrix, this is my matrix. It's a combination. It has certain number of rows, certain number of columns, so on and so forth. Okay. In a 2D array, if I just mention my row number or just my column number, you cannot figure out my exact position. But if I mention both my row and column number, now you can figure out my exact position. Okay. Now let's talk a bit of code here. How do you initialize, first of all, a 2D array? So if I say integer array n, this is one dimension. If I have to create for a two dimension, that would be row comma column. That is two dimension. If I have to create for three dimension, I can say like row, column, height. That is like three dimensions. Okay. So if you have only one dimension working for you, you call it as a 1D array. If you have two dimension, that you call it as 2D array. And here you will call it as a 3D array. This statement crystal clear to all. Okay. This is how you create it, right? You have not initialized it, you have created it. How do we initialize it? How do we actually initialize a 2D array? Let's talk about it. To initialize a 2D array, I can do something like this. 3, 2, and I can give the value like this. 3, 2 means 3 number of rows, 2 number of columns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. This is 3 cross 2 array. The rows represent the horizontal portion of it, and columns represent the vertical portion of it. Okay. Now, there are two kind of matrices you can talk about. One can be considered a square matrix. One can be considered as a rectangular matrix. Okay. What do you mean by square and rectangular matrix? Let's talk about it. Square matrix, my number of row will be equal to number of column. Rectangular matrix, my number of row will not be equal to number of column. Okay. This part clear to all? This is how you create a 2D array. Just like how you create 1D array, you put one dimension. To create 2D array, you create two dimension. 3D array, three dimension. That's it. Then to the part, how to initialize it? Once you have created it like this, you can just assign the value simply. I'm assigning the values like this. This is how you initialize or assign the values to a 2D array. This part clear to all? Come on guys, quick in the chat. This part clear to all? Okay. If this part is clear, now let's talk about memory implementation. How exactly memory is resolved in the case of a 2D array. How is memory reserved in 2D array? Let's talk about that first. Okay. Number one, when I create integer array of 2, what exactly happen here? What exactly will compiler do? Guys, this is 1D array. There is no row and column here. If I just say integer array of 2, what exactly will happen? Quick in the chat, guys. Integer array 2 means what compiler is going to understand. Compiler will understand I need to store two integers, correct? Two integers means 2 into 4, 8 bytes. I just need to store or reserve is the right word, 8 bytes of memory. Normal memory? No, contiguous memory. 8 bytes of contiguous memory space in RAM under the name of ARR. This is what a compiler will do when you compile this code. All agree with this? All agree with this? Okay. If I do the same thing with the matrix, let's say 2 cross 2, how much size I would be expecting here? In bytes, how much size I would be expecting here? Think about it, guys, before giving answer. Guys, be quick in the chat. 32. The correct answer is 16, not 32. So what is happening is you create 2 cross 2, that's total number of rows and columns, and you multiply that with 4. Total how many elements are there in your matrix? Total 4 elements are there. 2 rows, 2 columns, 2 into 2, 4 values will be there. Each value is an integer type, so 4 bytes. So 2 into 2 into 4, that will become 16 bytes. 16 bytes definitely of contiguous memory under the name of matrix. All agree with this part? That part is correct. It will be still be a contiguous memory because it's a 2D array. So if it is a 2D array, doesn't mean the array concept will change. If it's a 3D array, still it's a contiguous memory. But how exactly will it be stored? That's what we are about to understand here. Okay. So in terms of your memory, there is nothing called 2D, 3D, 4D in terms of memory. That is something that we have said in terms of understanding matrices and other dimension arrays. Memory is just one plain block. There is no 2 dimension, 3 dimension, 10 dimensions to that. So how do we store the array into a one array of block or one contiguous memory block? There are two ways to store a 2D array. Okay, similarly, three ways to store a 3D array and so on and so forth. The two ways is either I can store it row wise or I can store it column wise. Okay, let's take an example. If I have, let's say, a matrix which is 1, 2 and 3, 4. What do I mean by row wise storage? So row wise storage means, let's say, 1000, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005, 6, 7, 8, 9. So store 4 bytes here, 4 bytes here, then so on and so forth. This is what you call as row wise storage. So start with 1, then you'll go to 2, then you'll go to 3. First you complete the first row, then you start with the second row. What do I call a column wise storage? A column wise storage means you start with the column. You store 1, you store 2, 3, then you store with the value 2. So 1, 3, 2, 4, and so on and so forth. This is what you call as row wise storage and column wise storage. This part crystal clear to all? Column storage y 1, 3, 2, 4. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. See, okay. Let me help you understand again. First thing, understand, in memory, we do not have any concept of 2 dimension, 3 dimension, 4 dimension. In memory, it's just one plain block and you need to store there. Either you can store contiguously or you can store by references. In arrays, it's always a contiguous. In linked lists or some data structure which are dynamic, that is by references. But either way, it's going to be one single memory, one single layer of memory. This statement clear to all? In memory, in your actual memory where you're storing, irrespective whatever data structure you use, it's always going to be one sequential chunk. You just need to use that memory. That's all is given to you. Okay. Now, in terms of metrics, I'm coming to that. Okay, let me explain column. What do you mean by column? This is what you call as rows, the horizontal value, and this is what you call as column, the vertical values. So 1, 2 is a row, 2, 4 is a column. This guy is a column, this guy is a row. This part clear to all? Horizontal values are rows, multiple vertical values are columns. Okay, first part. Now, what do you mean by row wise and column wise? Since it's going to be only one chunk of memory, one stage of memory, or one layer of memory, there's nothing called 2 dimension, 3 dimension, 4 dimension. So even if you try to create a data structure which has 2 dimension, at the end of the memory, it doesn't care. Whatever data structure you create, memory has nothing to do with it, right? Now, the way we store is there are two ways. Either I can first store all the rows and then I can go to the next row, or I can store the column, then I can go to the next column. So if I go with row-wise storage, I'll take the first row, which is 1 and 2. I'll store that. Then I'll go to the next row, which is 3 and 4. Then I'll go to the next row if there is, and so on and so forth. That is what you call as row-wise storage. Take every row, store it by row, and that is what you call as the row-wise storage. This part clear to all? Okay. The next part is column-wise storage. What exactly is column-wise storage? Let's try to understand that as well. Column-wise storage means you take the first column, you store it, for example, 1 and 3. Then you take the next column or second column, then you store it, for example, 2 and 4, then so on and so forth, if you have more columns. So you take columns and then you store it. But at the end of the day, irrespective you store it by row or you store it by column, they all will be stored in one single layer. This part crystal clear to all? No, it will not matter. Will it be sorted either ways? No, it depends on the value, right? It has nothing to do with sorted, whatever values. If I put 1 comma 0 here, it will become 1 comma 0. It has nothing to do with the sorting. These are just the value I have taken. I can take like negative values or decreasing values. Accordingly, it will be there. Sorting has nothing to do here. All right, guys. This part clear? Any questions? Any follow-ups? If this part is clear, now we'll go to the code part. But before jumping to the code part, let's understand something important before I jump to code part. In my 1D array, let's put 1D array here. Let's put 2D array here. If I put 1, 2, 3, what will be my array dot length? Array dot length will be 3. What exactly you're doing when you say array dot length? You're counting the elements in that array, right? Or elements in that data structure. So elements include 1, 2, and 3. So it counted 1, 2, and 3. It gives the output 3. If I say 2D array, let's say matrix 1, 2, and 3, 4. Now if I put matrix dot length, what would be the output now? Come on, guys, quick in the chat. What is the output now? 4. Okay. 4, 2. Okay. And the correct answer is 2 here. Understand, I'm saying matrix dot length. So as part of matrix, what are exactly your elements? This is one element. Observe the comma here. And then there is another element. Obviously, each element is a 1D array. I'm not denying that. Remember, I told you 2D array is just a combination of 1D array. Okay. And let me add a note here on that part. Any n dimension array, not just 2D array or 3D array, is a list of n minus 1 dimension arrays. Okay. Any n dimension array is a list of n minus 1 dimension arrays. Make it clear. Okay. Now, when I'm talking about 2D array, 2D array is just a list of multiple 1D arrays. So think of like this 1D array only. Instead of just one element being one element, it is actually a list, or an element is another 1D array. So if I talk about matrix.length, what are the elements of matrix? Elements of matrix are 1D array. So how many 1D array I contain? I contain two 1D array. So the output becomes 2. This statement crystal clear to all. This is counting 1, 2, and 3, 4. What does that mean? Whenever I say matrix dot length, this will always give you size of rows in the matrix, because size of rows is what will be equal to number of 1D arrays in matrix. This statement is clear to all. Your matrix dot length will always print to you the size of rows in the matrix, or the number of rows in the matrix, because size slash number of rows is equal to the number of 1D arrays in the matrix. Clear? Okay. Now the question becomes, I know the size of rows. How do I know the size of column? What code should I use to find the size of column? Quickly in the chat. Come on guys, what value should I use to calculate, or what piece of code should I use to calculate the size of my column? Okay. All right, let's discuss the answer now. The answer is size of column depend upon what kind of matrix we are using. We'll talk about that case, but let's just complete size of column depend on size of matrix. So you are talking me the size of this, correct? The size of this is 2, which is 1 comma 2. How do I calculate size of 2? If I'll go to this element first. So if I say matrix 0 dot length, I'll get the output 2. If I say matrix 1 dot length, I'll get the output 2. All agree? All agree? Come on guys, quick in the chat. They should not take this long. So when I say if all columns, there are two conditions. If all columns are of same length, then column size would be matrix 0 dot length. But if all columns are of different length, then column size would be matrix I dot length for ith row. And this is for all rows. Everybody crystal clear with this. Everybody crystal clear with this. For example, if I take here 1, 2, 3, 4, here the size will become 2 cross 2. If I put the matrix like this, 3, 4, 5, now what will happen? For row 1, column size would be 2, but for row 2, now my column size would be 3. This part crystal clear to all. If all columns have the same length, if the all columns have the same size, then I can blindly say matrix 0 dot length. Why matrix 0 dot length? Why not matrix 1 dot length or 2 dot length? Because matrix 0 will always exist. If a matrix is there, at least first row will be there. That's why I'm putting matrix 0 dot length. Let me add there also. Minimum matrix will have not the right way. Matrix will have at least one row. That's why matrix 0 dot length instead of matrix 1 dot length, right? But if it's a skewed matrix like this, there's a word for it, which I'll go back to when we discuss. If the matrix is like this, that it has different size of rows, then in that case, I need to find the calculator for size for different. Yes, it is possible. It is possible. Okay. 2D array is nothing. It's just a combination of 1D arrays. Those 1D array may or may not be of same length. So the answer is yes, it's possible. Okay. All right, guys. Everybody clear so far? Everybody crystal clear so far? Cool. If everybody is crystal clear, let's quickly write down the code for it. I'll give you guys some tasks to code in meantime while we write the code. Okay. So I'll make it relatively faster. Where are we? Let's go to lead code. Let's quickly write down some code. I'll clear the console here, bring it back here. Let's do some things. So I'll convert this function to, let's say, traversal. And that should do. I don't need this public. Keep it private by default. I can just say static void traversal. What do I want here? I want the matrix. So if it is matrix, there would be 2 dimensions. Anything else, I'll leave up to implementation. What else? What I want to do here is I want to define a matrix. So let's remove the matrix. Integer matrix. Let's take 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's take 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's take 9, 10, 11, 12. What is the size of my matrix? Quickly in the chat. What's the size of my matrix? Come on, guys. Matrix would have a size in A cross B dimension. Whenever you define size of a matrix, it's always A cross B, row cross column. Correct. It's a 3 cross 4 matrix. 3 rows, 4 columns. Okay. All right. Now coming back to this. What I want you guys to do is quickly implement this traversal code and print me all the values here. That's all I want. So I want to print address like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9, 10, 11, 12. 2 minutes should be more than sufficient for it. I don't want to give you too much time. You can start writing the code. One thing I want you to take care of it is if this number of rows were different, for example, this is 4, this is 4, this is 4. If it was 4, 5, 10, or anything else, your code should be able to handle this. If your matrix has different size of rows in it, your code should be able to handle it. That's all I want as of now. Requirement clear to all before you jump into coding? Requirement is still clear to all before you jump into coding? Guys, what's the doubt in the requirement? Okay. Any doubt in the requirement, what I asked? Okay, one moment, guys, one moment. Before you jump, let's understand this. I want you to write a code which will traverse the output. Traverse means it will go through each and every element, it will print the output. My expected output is same, just print the values in the matrix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's it. What I want you to do is the code that you write in this function traversal, that code should be like that. Even if the rows are different, for example, this row is of size 4, this is of size 4, this is of size 4. Even if the rows are of different length, your code should be able to handle it. Now the question is clear. Question is crystal clear to all. Okay. All right, guys. If you're clear with the question, quickly complete this function. Shouldn't take more than 2 minutes. Quickly complete this. Let me know once you are done, then we can discuss it. Right? Your time starts now. Last 10 minutes I want to take, so you have like roughly 2 minutes. Be quick in the chat. All right, guys, enough time. Let's start discussing the answer. Majority have given the correct answer. It should not take this much time. Let's quickly go through it. I can take any one of the solution. We can go through it. All right, let's talk about here. For I equal to 0, I less than matrix dot length, j equal to 0, j less than matrix dot length, I plus this, system dot out println should be fine. Okay. When you're doing println, you don't need to put this, by the way, so this will still work. But anyways, let's go run through it. Expected this in 9, 10, 11, 12. Good. No issues. Next. What are we getting the output? We're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Don't want this. Okay. Cool. Let's run the code now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That is getting the correct output. However, if I replace this with matrix 0 dot length, let's say, will I still get the correct output? Quickly in the chat. If I put with matrix 0 dot length, will I still get the correct output? For this test case, yes. I'll still get the correct output for this test case. However, let's point it out here. You can print something like this. System.out.println. And what am I going to say? I'm going to talk about row size. What is that going to be row size? That is going to be matrix.length. And if I talk about column size, what can I say? I can say matrix 0.length. And then I can give a space here. I'll remove this. I'll run the code. Row size is 3, column size is 4, and get the output 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is good. Copy this. Go back to Sublime Text. Paste it here. This code is completely fine. No issues with that. I can print the output also. I can print the output here as well. Okay. All good with this? All good with this? This is good for one condition. What is the condition? The condition is if all of my columns are of same length, then this condition holds valid, correct? But imagine if I go to case number 2, where I say all of my columns are not of same length or different length. Those arrays are called jagged arrays. Okay. Those arrays are called jagged arrays, right? Means all of my rows will be of different length. Let's look at the code in that case. I'll clear this. I'll come back here. How do I make a jag array? Just make it different. So I'll make 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, and let's say 9, 10, 11, 12. That's it. That's all I have to do. Now, if I run the code, it's giving me row size is 3, which is correct. But is my column size 2 correct? Is my column size 2 correct for this array? Yes or no? The answer is no, because there is no column size. Column size changes for every row. What I'm doing here is I'm talking about only the first row, 0 dot length. That's why it is giving me the column size is 2. Second part, is my traversal output correct? My traversal output is also not correct. Why my traversal output is not correct? Because what you're printing here is you're going through only matrix 0 dot length. So the number of columns that you're appearing, you're only appearing for 2 column length. So this will be 1, 2, 5, 6, and 9, 10. So it is only covering the first 2 elements all the time. That's why it is incorrect. So how do we correct this code? Can we define the column size here? No, we cannot. It depends on row. Can we define here? Definitely we can. So if I run the code now it is giving me the correct output. Everybody crystal clear with this? All good? Let's copy this. That's all I wanted to show for this one. Come back here, paste this here. We can print the output also, and then we can talk about time and space complexity as well. There goes their output. Time complexity of this code, row into row dot length, because every row dot length will be different. Space complexity big of 1. Okay. If I talk about the previous one, there the row will be row cross column, and space count will be big of 1. That's it. Okay. This is something that we discuss in the case of matrix 1 comma 2, y comma after 2. Not required. You can remove it. Not required. Okay. All right, guys. This part clear so far? Whatever we discussed in terms of matrix. This part clear so far? Okay. If everything is clear, let's quickly revise what we have done till this part. So this we have not touched, but we are still doing matrix. So I'll just put it as work in progress. All right. We start with question number 9, which is lead code 412. Quickly revising what we discussed in today's session. We start with Fishbus problem. Now this problem statement is, first we talked about for condition, and looking at the for condition, it seems like an easy approach for if else if condition. However, it is easy approach, but the way you're implementing these 4 if else condition will decide whether it will work all test cases or not. So first we understood 3, 5, 15 will not work. Why it will not work? We talked about the solution in detail. Correct solution is you have to go from largest to smallest. It will always pass all test cases. Then we talked about 2 parts understanding about co-prime numbers. 15, 5, 3 will also work. 15, 3, 5 will also work because they are co-prime. And instead of 3 and 5, I can simply write 15 also, again, because they are co-primes. Same condition will not hold true for 2, 4, 8. We verified that there can be numbers which are not divisible by 8, even though they're divisible by both 2 and 4. Okay. Then we talked about other solution apart from this. So if else ternary switch case, they follow similar approach. Other solution can be implementation of loop. We talked about the intuition behind it. Intuition is the last changes would be the final. Then we start implementing by overwriting the changes. We verified the solution. We passed all the test cases. Time comps to big of n, space comp to big of 1. We talked about if it can be asked to senior engineers or somebody with high year of experience, what would be the changes done for that. Okay. Then we talked about matrix in 2D arrays, but we understood what does D means here, which is the dimension. We talked about example of line, rectangle, and cube to understand 1D, 2D, and 3D. Two-dimensional array is nothing. It's a combination of multiple 1D arrays. Okay. We talked about how do you initialize it. After initialization, how do you create the values in it. Once you're done, how is memory resolved? So there are 2 ways. You can have the memory row wise or you can have the memory column wise. So we talked about row wise storage. We talked about column wise storage. Finally, we talked about the approach here. This is 1D array. This is 2D array. We talked about matrix.length concept, if it is of same size or if it is different length, right? Finally, we write down the code to do a traversal of a matrix, create a matrix, traverse through it, print all the values, rows and columns in it. Both for 2 cases, one when condition columns are of same length, once they are of different length. Everybody crystal clear with this? Come on guys, be quick in the chat. Everybody crystal clear with this? Everything good? Cool guys, if everything is good, one moment. For dynamic condition, we have to first check whether KLIs and use for loops. There are multiple ways you can do it. So there's not one way to do it. The way that you are saying then use for loops, that is one of the way. There are many ways that you can implement the solution. Okay. Easier way or the way that I'm not saying that's the best way. A easier way would be to implement via Lambda. Just create a bean class or Pojo class, take the values as input, divide into different modules and run the code. That's it. It doesn't need to be a single file. You can create multiple files. Okay. All right, guys. Cool. If everything is good, let's wrap up the session here for today. Let's catch up in the next class. We'll continue with our matrix and 2D array questions. Okay. In the meantime, you will get the questions for arrays 1D. So start for the 1D array questions and then we can take it from there. Okay. If you don't get the assignment questions by today, let me know, then we can do. Question moving 0 assignment in an assignment. Let's discuss in the next class. Let me know whatever the problem statement you're stuck with, then we can take it from there. Okay. All right, guys, let's wrap up the session here for today. Let's catch up in the next session. We'll continue from there. Thanks for joining in and have a good one. Your course coordinator will provide you the assignment. I'll ask them to.